or welcome to this workshop. And my title, what some of you signed up for, Life in a Beautiful State, really started to evolve as I started to really chew on what does life in a beautiful state look like. And a state can be a fleeting moment. A state can be, I'm in a good mood, something happens, oh, now my day's ruined, I'm in a bad mood, right? We can change our state in a moment. But what we really want to do is have that overall set point where this is, even when things are rocky, even when we're riding the waves of life, we can't control what's going on. We've got Jasper that's on fire, sending all of our love to the town of Jasper that is burning. We can feel in our heart and send love, and I can still feel happy and joyful within myself while I have compassion and empathy for what is going on in the world around me. And that's really what is in our control. Our state is an inside job. It is from the inside out. And that is what we're going to look at today. And how do we make it less of a fleeting thing? I'm in a good mood, I'm in a bad mood. Anyone start in a good mood and then you start thinking about something, and whatever that something is isn't even happening in your present moment, and all of a sudden you're twisted in a knot. My children are in their 20s and seriously navigating, life as a young adult. And sometimes it's like, oh, just get out of your head and into your body. It's like we can make ourselves crazy when we let our mind run the show. So these are things that we're looking to be able to have that awareness of, and have that ability to go, right, I'm in my head, come into my body in this moment, am I okay? And that what we're creating in our overall life is a life that we love, a life that we feel that we are following our passions, which is really stepping us into our purpose, which really creates our destiny, which is why we came here in the first place, and then our experience of life overall. So just a couple of things before I dive in. I couldn't help but just dive in right then and there. But I just want to establish an agreement that this is a safe space. I know most of you here, and really it does go unsaid, but I just want to really put that out there so that you feel safe to share. You feel safe to type things into the chat. You feel safe to raise your hand and ask a question, because this is for you. And I invite you to get whatever you saw in wherever you learned about this, that had you go, yeah, I'm going to actually choose to do that for the hour and a half, that you get what you came here to get, and ask your questions and speak up and join in on the fun. So just to create that safety, and that you feel supported, that we are all here to level each other up, and the power of a collective whole, in particularly women, when we get together in support of each other to level each other up, to raise each other up, to have deep, meaningful conversations, we are what changes the world. And the world needs each and every one of you and each and every one of us coming together, raising the vibration level. I can do my own personal work, I can do my own personal meditation, but when I get together collaboratively with a group of powerful women like we are here today, really anything is possible. And what we can do in this world is incredibly profound, and the world does need us right now. So let's come together and up-level our vibration level and do this together. And what also happens is today we're going to be really exploring, what are you passionate about? What are your passions now in this particular moment that, yes, thank you, Sally. Yes, we do need to acknowledge the challenges that are going out in this world and send our love and our heart to them. And, one of the things that meditators do, particularly transcendental meditators, is back in December, they got together in India, and there are 10,000 people meditating together to elevate the vibration in the world. So this is the difference that we can make, and we'll talk about this more and more. So thank you for that, Sally. Absolutely. So today we're going to be really looking at what matters to you now, what mattered to you 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 4 years ago. I mean, COVID really sort of shook us up a lot. But what matters to us now? And therefore, what are we going to do when we understand what matters to us now that will move us forward to create a life that we love? And what we do when we do it together is that we can actually supercharge each other to up-level your passions, that you up-level others' passions. And what we can see in each other is not always what we can see in ourselves. So that's the fun we want to have today. So what is a beautiful state? I invite you just in this moment to type into the chat, what do you, when we talk about life in a beautiful state, what comes to mind? What are you doing? What are you feeling when we think of life in a beautiful state? So just drop that into the chat so that we can really get a sense of sort of creating that feeling. What will you be doing? What will your life look like? When I'm in a beautiful state, I feel, I am. You know, Sally and I recently had a conversation around, she's a windsurfer, and we both are out in the outdoors. And when we feel this flow, when we feel this state of, you're just, it's like time, beautiful, present in nature. Time stands still and it's moving in this flow state, right? We feel this sense of expansion. So typing into the chat, what does being in a beautiful state mean to you? What does it feel like? What are you doing? So beautiful state. What does that feel like? What are you doing? So for me, it feels like I'm expanded. I feel joyful. There's ease, there's calm, freedom and joy. Love it. Present and joy. Beautiful. Thank you. This is great. And so even if something is challenging in your life, can you still be in a beautiful state? Does something more challenging, Audrey, good, beautiful, calm, peace, being in nature, hiking in the forest, when we're in a beautiful state, these are things we're doing. And the idea is that can we still be in that state no matter where we are and what the circumstances are? It's a flow. So the point of that is that the world is as you are. It is an inside out job. And if we want to change our world or our perception in the world out there, really what we do is we start to change our thinking, because our thoughts come first, which creates a chemical reaction, which then translates into a feeling of our body, a feeling of either being expanded or contracted. So if we want to change the world out there, then we need to change from within first. And then it will manifest outside of you. So rather than looking out there for the solutions, well, you know, I'll be happy when I get a dog. I'll be happy when I have a house. I'll be happy when I have the career of my dreams. I'll be happy when we are at the effect of the world out there. It is really that it is about looking to what's happening in here. And if it's not happening in here, it's because it's not happening out there. And I absolutely love this picture. Try to hold it in a straight line. That's really funny. There we go. There we go. Maybe my camera's crooked and I don't know. All right, but you get the idea. So this is us as this here is us as the infinite soul. Sorry, I've got this new camera, which is wigging me out a little bit. So we are truly pure consciousness. This is who we are. And we are pure consciousness having a soulful physical experience in a physical body. And when things are flowing inside of our body and inside of our energy system, it really projects into the world out there. It's as simple as I bought a red car. Now all I see is red cars. When I'm in a bad mood, everybody is this, everybody is that. When I'm in a good mood, I can start to see the beauty in the world. So the idea is that when we change our inside, we change our view, we can enter into the same environment and our view of what's going on changes. So think of whatever is happening out here as being like on a projector screen of what's happening in here. If you've ever been around someone who's very negative, their worldview is, well, this is bad, that's wrong. They're looking for what's wrong. They're looking for proof of why things are bad and why the world is horrible. And you might have the perspective of, well, yes, those things are going on. And I can also see the beauty and the love and the kindness around me. It's all perspective. And in the work that we do with Intentional Life in the Conscious Awakening program is we start to, when we change the world inside, we change the world outside. And to truly transform means that we can walk into the same environment. You're still you, but you're different. Rather than viewing things as a problem, we view them, there's something that there is for me to awaken to. If you have ever had a job that you're not super passionate about, and then you got fired from that job or let go, it was at first maybe like, wow, why did they let me go? And then later you look back and go, well, that was actually a gift because that wasn't the path I needed to be on. And so we can look back at our life and things that didn't work, things that were a struggle, things that were a challenge, somewhere in that moment, if they were there to awaken us to our own magnificence. That it is the universe nudging, going, you're just a little off kilter here. This is where you need to be focused. I recently had a contract that was a beautiful little financial safety net as I was adjusting and moving into, stepping into a new stage. And that recently came to an end. And at first I was like, oh, okay, well, wow, that's a little bit tough. And then it was like, but I didn't love all of it. And now it frees me up to truly follow my passion, which is to build on Intentional Life, to continue to expand in my Pilates studio. Those of you that don't know me, I'll share a little bit about you. So the universe has a way of course correcting, but when we are ultimately fully clear, when we have full clarity on what it is that we are creating in our life, what it is that we're passionate about, what it is that we're moving towards, the nudges are only simple little nudges, as opposed to a big, like, boom, right? That's when we are not in alignment and the universe says, well, I guess I need to start to really get serious with this person. So the more clear you are at what you choose to create in your life, the more extent you are clear, the more the universe will deliver it with this sense of ease and flow. So clarity is the key. When you are struggling with life, when you aren't sure, when you're stuck somewhere, you are lacking clarity on your passion, and then being able to step into alignment with that. Great. Okay. So what we're here to do, therefore, is when we're looking at how we can live life in a beautiful state, it really is about fulfillment. Fulfillment comes before success. If you've ever known anyone, or maybe yourself, at a time in your life where you were chasing a goal, you were like, I need to make money. This is what I spend time with the 20-year-olds. You know, there's so many folks, money, 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 money. It's like, but do you love what you're creating? Are you passionate about what you're creating? Because what will happen is eventually they're going to peter out if they don't absolutely love, if they're not lit up. And while all of my life hasn't always been about, I haven't always made choices that are in alignment, I will say my career has always been my passion. And when I was building my Pilates studio, when I've been creating Intentional Life, I spent endless hours and it was effortless. So think to a time or a goal that you had or a project you were working on when it was pure heart. Maybe you love gardening and you would just spend hours and hours and hours in your garden. You might come in from your garden and think, whew, I'm spent, I'm exhausted, but you're so fulfilled. So fulfillment comes before success. So curious, who would like to have more fulfillment in their life? Who would like to have more passion? Beautiful. Yes, I see you, Sharon. Who would like to have more passion in their life? I love it. And now my question is, why is this important? Why is it important that we have, yes, Charlene, I see you. Why is it important that we have fulfillment and passion in our life? Why does passion matter? What does passion do for us? Feel free, just unmute yourself and just share, or you can drop it in the chat. Why does passion matter? What is passion and why does it matter? For me, it's the juice. While you're thinking of your answer, you can type it in the chat or unmute and just say, why does passion matter? Why is it important? For me, it's why I get up on the in the morning and put my feet on the floor. I was so excited for this morning, I could barely sleep. And I got up at 4 a.m. and I tweaked everything and I went for a walk and I thought of you all and, you know, really thought about what is it that I want to bring. Like, it was effortless. And for those of you in my Conscious Awakening program, you know, one day I had done my master class. I went for a hike and passed this gentleman and I just said, hello. And he decided he wanted to engage with me a little bit. And he said, are you always this happy? And it was from a hello that he assessed this. And I sort of stopped for a moment because I thought it was such an interesting question. Something you don't know. And I said, I am. And I was like, paused, I surprised myself because inside my body, I am. How many people, when someone says, how are you? You're like, good. And inside you're like, I'm not good. You feel contracted. I brought in a few instructors to my Pilates studio, one from the Ukraine and another from Brazil, and their cultures are very deeply honest. And they go, what's that Canadian thing? And you're like, good. You know, you walk down the street and we're like, you know, and how are you? Good. They're like, what is that? You know, like, you know, it's just something we say, not something that we really actually think about. So I paused with this gentleman and I was like, yeah, I am. Now, I've spent a lot of time in this work that we're going to talk about today. And then his next question was, does that irritate the people in your life? I was like, well, if I irritate anyone in my life from being good, then they're really not in my life anymore, because I actually have chosen to surround myself by people that we level each other up and we have these positive conversations. And that's why I appreciate all of you, because we come together for how to make ourselves and the world better, not to sit and complain. If you want to complain, go out in the balcony and complain. And then when you want to have a deep conversation, come on in and I'm here for you. So
I have something to say.
Yeah, yeah, Adriana, go for it.
So I smile all the time, right? So it happens the same thing. People smile back at me, but sometimes I feel like, you know, people will be weirded out because I am too smiley, and, you know, so it's like, sometimes I don't want to say that I am good because I don't want to offend anyone that I don't know is not feeling so well. I don't, you know, it's like a little bit of guilt.
Yeah.
In feeling happy, or, you know, I don't know if anyone feel the same way, or what do you think would be a good, I know that, you know, my happiness is not going to limit anyone's happiness, but it's like, I don't know, I feel a little guilty sometimes about it.
I love that. Thank you for bringing that up. And this is what we're actually going to work with today, is that we want to live our passions for us and focus on anything that's possible and not societal norms. Because society has created this, well, we don't want to be too happy because you might upset people that aren't happy, and you don't want to be, here we get to just be. And
I'd like to say something.
Yes, go ahead, Sally.
Yeah, So one of the things that I've gone through an awful lot of things, as you know, and some I just for your viewers, I've had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a very nasty cancer. And there were times where I just didn't feel like wanting to engage. But I would go down. I have a little walk that I do with my dog, and sometimes I would say hi, sometimes I would not. And I just have sometimes you just need that quiet space, and it's okay to be that way. And so actually it was a very interesting video I just watched, and I sent it to you about happiness and how yes, you can you know, there's the cheerleader person, there's the person that goes up and down, the scientist that evaluates, which is sort of what I am more, I'm a physio. And so yeah, I mean, you see good things and bad things, and I think it to have the bad things or the things that are not so good in your life make the good things better. So I think that's important. We need the ups and downs. We need to be able to appreciate what is out there. The situation with Hamas, the situation with Jasper. We need to see. You know, we're lucky that we live in places that we live, and we're going to see disasters. We're going to see that sort of thing. We need to be able to reach out if we can. I just feel that you know, a lot of people go through troubled times. We can't ignore all that. We need to be. You can't just touch the surface. We need to be to live. We've got to feel all these things. We've got to have the bad things. We've got to have, you know, the less upset, the more upsetting things, in order to feel how we feel. And yes, we can ride through those things, but I think it's important to be whole. We need to see everything.
Absolutely. Sorry. Beautiful, Sally. Thank you for that. And just like an oak tree needs to root to grow, we must descend to ascend. We are here to experience all feelings. The difference is, the distinction that we're drawing here today is when we step into creatorship of our life, we are here as creator, and how we view, is it a problem? Is it something that we can contribute to support? An example is when the war in Ukraine broke out, it was devastating. I was actually in Sedona at the time, very spiritual place, and it was I was just so upset by this whole thing. Same time, I was going through a challenging time in my studio. I was having a hard time getting instructors. I was out for a little run, and it was snowing, it was magical, and I came around one of those prayer sites that they have and these little temples. And I was there with the Buddha, and they had these beautiful different things you can do to go around and pray and set intentions. So I was praying for the people of Ukraine. And then I was standing there with the Buddha, and I said, what if? Because people were literally going, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do. And it was making people more and more upset. And so I was like, what if I could find a Pilates instructor from the Ukraine and bring them here, and I can give them a new life? And then I was like, okay, done. And I went for my run, carried on for my vacation, came back to my home. And I was like, remembered that fleeting thought that I had. 2 months later, I knew no one in Ukraine. 2 months later, myself, my clients, we brought a Pilates instructor from the Ukraine to Canada. She's been here 2 years. She is thriving. And so what that did is that we went to, there's nothing we can do, this is horrible, to what can we do? We raised $10,000 in 2 weeks. We got on global news to bring her here. We, one of our clients became her homestay, you see. So we gathered purposefully, and we raised the vibration up where people were like, there's something we can do. And they were so motivated because they knew that she was going to be part of their life, that they would say, this was the impact we made. There she is in our studio teaching Pilates. So it is certainly not to ignore what is going on. However, is there a way that we can reframe it so that we can be of service? So that rather than getting down watching the news, when 9/11 happened, I mean, I remember I wasn't as deep in this work. I watched that, the planes crash into those towers over and over and over and over and over again for hours and hours. It didn't do me any good. But when this war broke out and I had this idea, the impact of that idea You see, so it's all in the reframe. And yes, we are here to experience all feelings. We are here to experience sadness, grief, loss, joy, delight. And when we are living life in a beautiful state, it is how we can reframe even our difficult circumstances to rise up, to use it in some way to awaken to who we are as our magnificence. What's the other choice? And so I love what you said, Sally. Thank you for that. And Adriana, thank you for that. And this is really the conversation, so that we can not get knocked down and stay down. So we have a wobble, not a splat when things happen. For what purpose? How can I use this challenge that I've grown from and experienced? Devastating things happen to people on their journey. Is there a way we can use it to be of service, to make someone's life easier, to make someone's life better? How can we use these experiences to awaken, to grow, to expand? Awesome. Thank you for that. I love it. We're going deep right away. Awesome. Okay, so we've chatted a little bit about what passion is. And yes, Sharon, you put, it gives you purpose. Yeah, passion gives us purpose. When we're passionate about something, it really drives us. It gives us the energy. It gives us that reason to get up, to make a difference to something or someone else in the world. And then the next question is, what is destiny? And does everyone have one? What is destiny? Well, it's our destiny. So your destiny, feel free to tap what destiny means to you into the chat. Your destiny is really your purpose for being here. It's your purpose for being here, and it's not just for special people. We all have one. We all have a destiny. And the clearer we are on what our passions are, which defines our purpose, which creates our goals, which creates the life that we're creating. The life is like the reflection of what's going on in here. We arrive at our destiny, we make the ride maybe just a little bit smoother. Now, here's an interesting statistic, is that only 20% of the people in the world are living from a place of passion, purpose, happiness, and joy. Prior to this webinar, I had asked some of you to I'd asked everybody, but some of you had filled out this little questionnaire. It was really just a 7-question Google Docs. And the first was, I'm excited about my life and turned on by the things I do each day. This was really just to start kicking off the awareness of what is the state in which I'm living in? How am I feeling about my life? Others comment on how happy I am and what fun it is to be around me. So this is the result of the survey that you completed before coming today. I get upset and thrown off track when unexpected situations and circumstances arise. You can see this is an evolved group, right? The people who are here, all of you here, are people who are aware, and maybe you're going through a challenging time. Maybe you're in a nice flow right now, but you can see right now, this is an evolved group who, yes, quite clear about the top 5 passions in the life. And we're going to take a look at that and see, are the top 5 passions really what matters to you now, or do you want to tweak them, grow them, where it's like, you know what, I'm feeling really, really good about my life, or maybe there's something more I now want to step into. I make decisions based on what will help me live my passions fully. You can see again, just, you know, everyone here is just so beautifully aware. I spend my days doing things I love, surrounded by people I love. We see we have this choice, and life is confusing. I don't have a clear sense or direction, and here, pretty clear sense. So, and it's okay if you're sitting in this space of very little sense of direction. These are transition phases. We are all at different phases in our life. And a transition can be something we choose. I'm choosing to retire. I'm choosing to start a new career. I'm choosing to have a family. Or it could be something that's just the ebbs and flows of life. My children are growing up and now they're moving on to their life. And now how I interact with my family changes, and that's a transition. So transitions are always happening. It's called the cycle of life. It's the Vedic cycle of life, where we look at the various components of our life. It could be relationship, it could be spiritual, it's financial, health, career. And we're in these different cycles in life. Sometimes we're in the creation, there's something new, like we're starting a new project. Sustain is the next cycle of life, where it's like we're enjoying the fruits of our labor. And then there's time where that cycle, it's time for it to come to an end. So we actually need to surrender and let some things go. And then we sit in the void, where it's like, the void is uncomfortable for most people because we're so good at being human doers as opposed to human beings. And so the void is where we sit and do nothing and wait for the next creation. And we could be at any part of those phases, different in all those different parts of life. And that's why doing constant evaluation matters, because life is always changing. Life is always evolving. You are always evolving. You may even notice there are patterns in your life that keep showing up, but you manage them differently because you are not the same. So maybe the first time something happened and it was like, oh, you didn't have the circuitry in your body in place to deal with it. The next time something comes along, you're like, oh, I recognize that. But maybe we're a little slow on the uptake. So there's still a cost, there's still an impact. And then the next time it comes around, it's like, I have some experience with this. I can recognize it before there's too much carnage, for example. Maybe you know what I'm talking about in some example of your life where you attract the same type of relationship or the same type of person, or you get yourself in a similar situation, and over time we learn. And that's the idea. When we're in these cycles and we complete the cycles, we are not the same person in that same situation, so we manage it differently, and it gets easier and easier until it no longer happens. And so that is the cycle of life. So 20% of the people in the world live from a place of passion, purpose, happiness, and joy. We are not the 20%, as you saw from the research, but we are always having life happen. And so one of the reasons that I sort of target this to midlife women is because in this stage of midlife, there is a lot of change. There's a lot of change that happens. There are many large transitional periods of our life. But in this midlife, we may have a changing of family and relationships, divorce, passing of a spouse, children grow up, leave the nest. Now we're dealing with adult children issues and their marriage issues, supporting them. Rediscovering ourselves, that's a really big one. It's like, wow, I've been spending so much time as wife, as mother, as caregiver, as career. I just now have this opportunity and sit back and go, what do I want for me? What do I want for this next stage of life? Health problems may be creeping up, health problems of self. Multiple co-stressors at once, right? We're often in the sandwich generation. We might be caregiving for an elderly parent, as well as we're also caregiving for our children. Securing enough resources for the future. And then balancing career and personal life. Maybe we still need to be going full tilt in career. Maybe we're looking at, well, I can slow down and maybe I'll just do some traveling or do some things. What is it that we want? So in a research that was conducted, these were the top 6 challenges that are expressed by women in midlife. Maybe you're seeing something there for yourself as well. Now, I just want to touch note some of the things we're talking about when I'm bringing up how do you view this, how do you view that, is to really get our languaging on a common ground. And I use the word challenge over stress for a reason. So when we're talking about challenges or opportunities, these are what could be bumps in the road or things that are sort of confronting us. And when we talk about a challenge, it's really about experiences that require great physical or mental effort and determination that test one's strength, courage, skill, or ability. We can view it as an opportunity for growth or to look at what is it that I'm here to awaken to. If you are up to something big, if you are playing a big game in your life, you are always expanding. It's like I'm in a 10-ounce container and I'm like, yeah, I feel good in here, but I really want to be creating this. This is my passion. This is what I'm wanting to step into. And then we step into that and it's unfamiliar. Now I'm in a 15-ounce container and there's a little bit of a wobble. So if we see this, there's a wobble, this is unfamiliar, this is where I want to grow, this is my expansion, we see that as something exciting, something to awaken to, as opposed to a stress, which is a stimulus or threat that places real or perceived demands in the body, emotions, mind, or spirit of an individual. And really, chronic stress is an injury to the body. So when we're looking at being able to control our internal state, it's not to say something isn't happening, like I'm confronted by this health issue and this is a challenge. And yes, it can feel unknown and scary. And there can also be this opportunity to really look at what's possible, to connect into your spirit, to connect. There's ways that we can reframe so that it just doesn't take us out, right? It's a swabble versus a splat. So today what we're looking at is really about living a beautiful state as an inside job and why following your passions is necessary for a beautiful state. And when we're not following our passions, we start to feel constricted. We start to get up against something. We start to feel contracted. And those are all just signs to listen to that, I'm not in alignment with what matters most to me. And I love what Adriana said is that so often we are trying to fit in. These are innate survival needs to belong, to be loved. And when we are young little children, babies, we do whatever it takes to fit in, to belong, to matter, to love, to be significant. And what we want to do now as adults is start to really break free of that and go, what do I want? What matters to me most? And your passions and God's will for your life are one in the same. There's no accident that you love what you love. There is no accident that you get lit up when you're doing something or thinking about something or creating something, because it is your passion, your purpose, your destiny for being here. And then, time permitting, we're going to learn the formula for manifesting anything that you desire. So we'll learn when we're on course and when we are off course. And there are so many words to describe the same thing, you know, when we are following our passions, when we are living in a life of fulfillment, when we are simply happy because we're happy for no reason. Marcy Shimoff did write a book called Happy for No Reason. She's also the co-author of Chicken Soup for the Woman's Soul. And she has spent her life looking at happiness, because when she was young, her father was very happy, but she was not happy. And so she really was seeking to be happy. And, you know, I'll be happy when, you know, I'm a world-renowned speaker. I'll be happy when I have Halle Berry's body. I'll be happy when I have this money. I'll be happy when and she realized she wasn't happy when she had all of those, with the exception of Halle Berry's body. And that's when she started her research of interviewing the Happy 100. And when people are deeply happy, they bring a sense of purpose with them wherever they go, whatever circumstances they're in. So if they're changing the oil of the car, they bring a sense of joyful purpose even to that. So if the dishes need to be washed, I'm choosing to wash the dishes. I'm going to make washing the dishes fun. I'm going to put music on, dance. I'm going to wash the dishes and make it a beautiful experience. If I'm stuck sitting in traffic, I'm going to be like, well, I'm in traffic. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm going to put on a podcast, great music. I'm going to take some time to breathe and center myself. So this is the choice we have in how we respond to things on the inside. All right. How are we doing so far? Everyone Doing okay? Any questions? Yeah, go ahead, Charlene. You can just unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Just a little bit of clarity. What's the difference between values and passion? Like what I value as opposed to what my passion is?
Yeah, they're one and the same.
Okay, I thought
Yeah.
so. Okay.
Yeah, because a value, as long as it's yours, right? As long as it's yours. So if there's a family value that you grew up with, and you're not quite in alignment, maybe when you were a teenager, you were pushing back against that family value a lot. It may not be yours. So what we want to look at is, what are your values? What is most important to you within your passions? If one of your passions is to have beautiful connections with family and friends, every time you connect with the family and friends, are you showing up such as that connection is beautiful? If that's your value. Yeah. Beautiful. Great question. Love it. Anything else before we move on? Any questions? Any thoughts coming up? Okay. All right. Well, as they are, it's a beautiful, intimate group. We will be able to share as we go. So I am new to some of you, and I just want to do a quick introduction to who I am. And my name is Linda Millard. I was born and bred in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, and I currently live up in Whistler. Living in Whistler is actually one of my passions. There were probably a good dozen reasons that leaving my town of Tsawwassen was not a good idea. My career was there. My brick and mortar of a Pilates and rehab studio was there. And my husband had passed away years prior. My children were growing up, and there was something empty inside of me because I grew up as a mountain girl. I grew up skiing. I grew up climbing. My brother followed his dreams, became a mountain guide, and I moved to the flatlands of Tsawwassen. Beautiful community, absolutely beautiful community. Amazing humans are there. I have such beautiful connections, but there was a calling. There was something inside of me. And in 2023, January, I set my intentions every year. And one of them was that I could work and play from wherever I chose. And I knew that that looked like being able to mountain bike, hike, ski, be in fresh air out my door on a daily basis. And I knew the what. I had no idea on the how. I did not know how I would do that. How can I leave my brick and mortar that I've had for 24 years, that is, you know, I run it. It's a mom and pop shop, it's ma shop. And I had two of my children, I have 3 children, but 2 of them were still living with me. We were just renting a home. How do I deal with that? And then move to a place and create something where I knew nobody and create a livelihood. And I knew the what, and what I started to do is every action I put in place was in alignment with how do I create that. So I started to, you know, prior to that, I was getting all sorts of new certifications. I got certified in rapid transformational hypnotherapy. I got certified in bioenergetic work, remote healing. These were passions of mine that were calling me, where it's like, wait a minute, I can actually work remotely and create this online business. And I started to create intentional life. So it's not that this came overnight. This passion, this vision was there for a long time, where I used to then do a lot of take trips. And I would always take a trip to a mountain. I would always take a trip, and I would literally sit and feel into what it would be like to live there as I was creating these steps. And every step I took, was it in alignment with creating, with the passion of working and playing from wherever I chose. And then the universe started to provide as I was creating the action that was in alignment with the what. And the how started to come into place. So we're going to look today at the what, and it starts with understanding what your passions are. And then there's a 3-step formula that we call intention, attention, no tension, when we create it. the very first thing we do when we start our Conscious Awakening program is that we actually create your powerful intentions for that year. And it starts, however, with the preempt of knowing, what are my passions? Just a show of hands, is everyone clear on their passions? Like if we go, well, what are you passionate about? Are you like, blah, 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 or are you like, I don't even know? See, seesaw, yeah, clear, you know your passions. Yeah, seesaw, sure, yeah. We often don't ask ourselves, what am I passionate about? Because especially if our parents thought, or like, well, you know, you're going to be this and you need to be that, and what do you want to do? And, you know, I so feel for kids right out of high school. Well, what are you going to do? I mean, I'm 58 and I still don't know what I'll be doing when I'm 68, because it's always evolving and always changing. We have these expectations. And so we get into this human doingness and forget about really, what do I want and what am I passionate about? And it changes all the time, right? What mattered in your 20s does not matter anymore when you're in your 30s, and so on and so forth. So what we want to be looking at is truly what our passions are. Now, before we do that, I just want to show you a slide, and it's called your happiness set point, because I did mention this. One of the things that Marcy Shimoff with the Happy for No Reason study that she did is that she realized that there is actually a happiness set point. And no matter what happens to us, whether good or bad, we tend to hover around what that set point is. And remember, a set point can be adjusted. Now, it's based on 3 factors. 50% of our set point is genetics, 40% is our habits, thoughts, and behaviors, 10% is circumstances. So if you look back to when you were a young child, was your overall demeanor one of, you're like a happy kid, you're always in a good mood, you know, hey, you know, don't sweat the small stuff. You know, I recently connected with a childhood friend, and I was overall a happy kid. You know, I would sing, things would roll off my back, things didn't matter. I was like, hey, you know, sometimes what comes to us at cost is we jump into things without thinking because we're just looking for a good time. And then that 10% circumstance jumps in. But she was overall not as happy. Her genetics were that her set point was lower. However, what we have in control of is that 40%, which is actually a pretty darn high percentage of habits, thoughts, and behaviors. And this is where we say it's an inside out job, that we do actually have control of what happens. And when we talk about living our passions and setting the what, you know, we know the what. I was so passionate about building my Pilates studio, and I had the studio, it was running, but I had this vision of it being a healing center, and I wanted this environment to be beautiful. And I just kept thinking, because everything was in those storefronts, you know, you got the window in the front, and then it's like this dark tunnel in the back, and I'd be teaching the back, and it'd be like, is it raining? Is it sunny? I don't know. And I really wanted nature to be the healer. And I was at a business meeting, and the owner of a local golf course said, we're turning this into a golf course community where they have condos and houses, and kind of like what you expect when you go down to the desert. And I was like, oh my gosh, and center to the 50 plus, which is my core client. And I went up to him and I went, poke, poke, tug, tug. I said, I want to be in that clubhouse. He was putting a few businesses in. He wasn't sure what they were going to be, but I was there. It took me 8 years of focus on, I want my studio to be in a healing environment. There are so many reasons I could have pulled the plug, from separation, divorce, loss of financial resources. There were so many things happening in my life where I'm like, I don't think I can do this investment. It was over $100,000 investment. It was taking time. My business couldn't grow. But the what was so powerful that I wanted to be in this healing, beautiful environment, that I was willing to ride it out. So when we live our passions and we set a goal, we actually can't control how the journey is going to go. Sally, you could probably relate. Audrey, you can probably relate, because these guys are sailors, and you know, have spent hours and hours on the water. You can say, I'm going here to there, but then a storm comes and you change your course. So we're not always going to be guaranteed the journey that we'll be taking. But when we come from that place of passion, we override it and we take those ebbs and turns. And I love this quote. You have control over the action alone, never over its fruits. So what we want to focus on is who we get to become in the process. Who are we being in the process? Because life does have its journey. And as Sally was saying, we want to recognize the ups and downs, the goods, the bads, that everything that happens in our life is part of the process. And when we live our passions, it's really about who we get to be in the process. Some of you know I've just started to learn pickleball. Anyone play pickleball here? All right, and if you haven't, you're probably like, what is with this pickleball? I was like that. Anyway, I love to be athletic. I've grown up moving, and being in that beginner stage is not like, I like to be at least somewhat confident in what I'm doing. And as I was putting this workshop together, I got what I was doing. I was powering through. I was like taking every clinic, every instructor course, you know, because I was like, I don't want to be that beginner. I want to be good enough that I can play at a level where I can go out and play. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but it reminded me to not be so focused on being a good player, but to actually enjoy the process of learning how to play. Does that land? How does that land with you? Sometimes we're so focused on having the house that we forget about what it feels like to live in the house and to acknowledge our achievements along the way. Another example, I mentioned my Pilates studio, what it took for me to move into this space. You're all getting the short version, but it was a lot to get into this studio. 8 years, and the last was like, can I do this? Can I do this? Is it possible? No, I have to do it. The passion was driving me. You see, fear pushes, and maybe some of you are there. There's something that's fear that's driving you. The fear will push you until the vision pulls. And if you're in that place with something scary for you and you're being pushed, don't keep your focus on the passion, on what you're creating, and the vision will start to pull you. So I opened this studio, it was operating, and I was literally like, not enjoying myself. I'm like, I need another project. Like, what's next? I need to be creating all the time because I've been in this creation for 8 years. And I get there, and my coach looked at me and she said, Linda, have you stopped to acknowledge and enjoy and appreciate what you created? I wasn't even in my framework to think that way back then. I was just busy in the Boxing Day depression because I was so consumed with getting there that I forgot to enjoy being there. So with her words, I sat in the studio one day, not being busy, not teaching, not working. I just sat and I watched. Teachers teaching, clients learning, people connecting. I created this big lobby so clients could connect and get to know each other. Sat in the lobby and I listened to people talk and laugh, and I just relished in what I had created. So remember who you get to become along the process and enjoy the beingness of what it is that you're doing along the way. And if every decision you make is in alignment with that passion, the universe will provide that. it will start to show up. The opportunities will be there. But if you're not aware and awake, you won't be there to receive them. Because we're so busy with our head down, doing, and we forget, and we can miss it. So the whole point of this, of living a fulfilled life and being happy and living in a beautiful state, is that we're present and aware enough here and now that we don't miss it. That we feel into it, that we acknowledge and appreciate what a day we had. I love this conversation, Sally, you and I had when you had that beautiful day on the water. And you just said, Linda, I was just so full of joy and so lit up. I just had this beautiful day. Or a friend texted me and said, I just want to share my joy. And me and my dog, we swam in the ocean and it was so magical. And then I sent her a picture of me up in Helm Creek with Black Tusk. And I said, this is where I was. And, you know, so in that moment, in the juice of life, that we don't miss it. Sally, you unmuted. Did you have something to share?
Yeah, just I wanted to tell the audience, I had a very difficult childhood. I was a privileged child. My father was a physician, but I had some health issues. I had asthma really badly, and I was put on this medication, which they called Saladrine, because I had so much of it. It was called Valadrine, probably had Valium in it. So that probably made me very difficult to concentrate at school. So I had some learning issues. I think there was Valium in it. But then unfortunately I was bullied. And then I went away to a private school, which I really wasn't very happy about being at. And I was bullied again then. And so I had a very difficult upbringing as a child. And my last 2 years at this boarding school that I was at, as I say, I was a privileged child. I found a group that I fit into. Running was my thing. I became a runner. I was running the track. People found out I was running. They put me in some running team that I went on and won quite a lot of runs, but I never really sort of associated it to anything particular that I should carry on doing. But it did give me that freedom of thinking. So then that sort of led me in a different direction and made me more enthusiastic about my life and where I was going and so on. And just the turns that limit. I mean, my elder sister and I always had fights about things. We still do on occasions, but we do get on better. But you know, it's interesting how your life evolves. And I moved to Canada from the UK in 1988 on my own, and to work as a physiotherapist. And that was one of the biggest changes in my life. And I never really knew what I was getting into. You know, you do these things and launch yourself, like Linda has said, and just move on. And then another big move to Collingwood, Ontario, then another big move to Whistler, and with my children, without my ex-husband. Anyway, that was another story. But you know, it's interesting how you just grasp and move on, and then become stronger, and you find a way. And yeah, it's fascinating. But just from a very difficult young age, where I really didn't have the options, and not really knowing how to use my options, I many times I ran down the road from where my parents were, decided I was just going to leave. And yeah, literally, I was a very unhappy child. And just didn't want to be at the house. I cried a lot. I was always with my pony. I had a pony called Mr. Mouse. And that was when I went to boarding school. My elder sister said, well, who do you miss? I said, miss my pony. You know, so it was interesting how you hung on to things, and something that gave you some happiness in your life, and held on to that, and then found other things, my pony, my dog. Yeah, so there's always things that you can move towards and move on if you're having a difficult time. I mean, when I was sick with cancer for about 8 years, I had chemo, radiation, chemo. Then I had a stem cell transplant. And my daughter said to me, I'm very close with my children. Mom, how are you doing? And I said, well, it's really funny, but I've gone and rushed. I've had 3 jobs at once, and this has actually given me time to rest and reflect. I'm actually quite enjoying the reflection, even though I'm going through a hell of a time with cancer. So it was really interesting how you reflected and how you moved on. I just wanted to tell you that, because even though you have some downtimes, always find the magic somehow in the dark cloud.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you, Sally. Thank you for bringing story to what we're sharing and for sharing your journey. And it really is our bounce back muscle in building the resilience and the strength. And this is that, if we view that life is happening to me versus what can I use this to awaken to, it becomes a shift and a totally different perspective. So yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Sally. Okay, awesome. All right, guys, so let us now start to take a look at how we can create our passions where they are today. So this is where you're going to pull out a pen and paper, or if you're going to do it on your computer, just pop Word up on the side there. And we're just going to take some time. I'll put a little bit of music on, and I just want you to invite you to take some time to consider your passions. And by that, you're just going to write out 10 today. When we work with the program, we do a bigger version of this, but this is enough for you today to really start to get your GPS set, where I am and what matters to me. And so really what we're saying is that what you love and God's will are one and the same. In other words, it's no accident that you love the things that you love. And it's no accident that you care about the things you care about. And you love these things because these are the things that will lead you down the path to fulfilling in your life purpose. And these are the things that will lead you to joy and fulfillment. So at the top of your page, if you write down at the top 10, my life, sorry, where did that go? My life, when I am blank, my life will be fulfilled. So 10 things that you are passionate about. 10 things that you are passionate about, thinking that when I am, my life will be fulfilled. You can think about the categories that we talked about. You can look at your health. You can look at your relationships. You can look at your spirituality. You can look at career and finances, separate career from finances. What are you passionate about? I am. I am healthy and strong. Write in the positive present tense. I have financial security for now and future. I have deep connections to my friends. And you can only get this right because this is for you. Think of your health, your fitness. When my life is ideal, I am. Is it traveling? Is it living in a beautiful home overlooking the ocean? Be as specific as you can for now. You can always tweak it later. Am I impacting the lives of thousands of people across the globe? Am I an exceptional coach or therapist that is changing the lives of others? Deep connections with my grandchildren. I walk in nature every day. When my life is ideal, I am. Keep it positive, present tense. Now, if you're starting to run dry, think about what you don't want in your life. Sometimes that's easier. And then you can turn it around. You know, maybe you don't want to be around people who gossip. And you could turn that around to say, I surround myself with people who speak with purpose, are uplifting and inspire me with their speech. I hate sitting in traffic. I live within a 10-minute easy commute to my work. I'm tired of working alone on my computer. I work with a beautiful group of people, or I volunteer in person for a society that means a lot to me. So if you tend to think about what you don't want, how can you return that to what you do want? We'll just do another 10 seconds here or so. And as we talk, we might tweak some of them. Awesome. Okay. Good. So hopefully you've got something down to work with. This is a work in progress as we're doing our passions. So you may find that this is something you can revisit daily and go deeper and deeper and deeper into it. So what we want to do now is look at what would your top 5 passions in that list be. And I'm going to, my friend Liz, hello beautiful. Hopefully you can see Liz and I on the screen now. And Liz, you've unmuted yourself, that's awesome. So Liz kindly, I had her do it by storm, so we might tweak it along the way, but this is more the point of the exercise, is I asked Liz this morning to do this, and she did it without all the preamble that we've had today. But I'm going to share my screen. And essentially, when we are looking at how, now that we've got these 10 passions down, how do we figure out what are our top 5? Because we may have something that's really important in our life, and then we realize I'm actually not putting the attention to it that I really want it to be. Like if having connection with my children is really important, and I haven't spoken to my daughter in 3 months, am I living, what level am I living into that priority, such that I create that connection that I'm looking for? So in a moment, we're going to look at Liz's list. And what I'm going to ask her to do is we look at the very first one on the list and we ask, choose between 1 and 2. So she'll look at the first thing on her list and the second and choose which one is most important. And then whatever that answer is, we then look at what is that and choose between the choice and the third. So let's take a look at Liz's list. So Liz said, my life is ideal when I am. And she just brainstormed a whole bunch without any idea of anything. It was just what came. So Liz, I just want to make sure I can hear you. Can you say hello?
Hello.
There we go. Okay. So Liz, if you could choose between practicing my faith on a daily basis and strong and move freely with confidence, is it 1 or 2?
1.
Okay. If you could choose from practicing my faith on a daily basis and I choose healthy food choices daily, would it be 1 or 3?
1.
If you could choose practicing my faith on a daily basis and I have deep connections with my friends, what would you choose?
Oh, number 1.
Practicing my faith on a daily basis, or that your business is thriving and you're making an impact to thousands of lives across the globe?
I can't choose between the 2.
Okay, so this is perfect. So here's the thing. If we get stuck, what we want to do is compare the 2. So if you get stuck, if you can have blank, but you can never have blank, what would you choose? So if you could choose practicing your faith on a daily basis or having a thriving business, you can't have one or the other. Of course, you can have it all, but right now we want to find out what your priorities are. If you can practice your faith, but you cannot have a thriving business.
My faith, number 1.
Okay, so it's number 1 still. Because then we would look at if you could have a thriving business, but not practice your faith. And it's like, So are we still at 1 then is your choice, Liz?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then practicing your faith or having a home that you love?
Wow, this is tough. Practicing my faith.
Okay. Practicing your faith or volunteering?
My faith.
Okay. Practicing your faith or having financial security and save for your future?
Number 1 still.
Practicing your faith or getting out into nature?
Number 1.
Okay. Practicing your faith or open to receiving abundance in all areas?
It's still number 1.
And practicing your faith or being in a loving relationship with someone that supports me?
Number 1, but there's others in there that are super, super important to me.
Yeah, but that's okay. They're all important to you because they're all your passions. But now you put 1 on number 1. So then you would do the same thing with number 2. So what we want to find right now for your life here now in this moment, what are your top 5 passions? So when we look at the next step here, then we would go, okay, so we know practicing your faith is the most important. Number 2, we say, okay, so Liz, what's more important? That you are strong and you move freely with confidence, or you choose healthy foods daily?
Strong. Number 2.
Number 2. So is it strong and move freely with confidence, or have deep connections with your friends? So if you are strong and move freely with confidence and you cannot have deep connections with your friends, how does that feel?
Yeah, not good, right?
So if you have deep connections with your friends, but you cannot move strong, be strong and move freely with confidence. How does that feel?
I can't make a choice. Yeah.
One or the other.
Strong
And only have
and
one.
move. I guess number 2.
Number 2, okay? So if you can be strong and move freely and with confidence over your business thriving and making an impact to thousands of lives across the globe. Is it fitness and movement or business?
Fitness and movement.
Okay. So if you get the idea around that, so then we would go through the list. So you can start to do that with your list. And what you'll come up with are what your top 5 passions are. You can have more than 5. So when I do this with our group, I actually haven't done this big project, but this is what we're headed to in our September launch, is we actually work with more than 5. But for the purpose of our time today, we just want to look at what are your top 5 passions for you today. It doesn't mean the others don't matter. These are your passions. And see if you can even just come up with the first 2 or 3 right now in this moment. So you're looking at the one, and then whichever one trumps becomes the comparison to the others. If you have questions or thoughts or yeah buts, please speak them up as people are doing this. Just unmute and ask.
This is interesting.
I think that I misunderstood. So the passions are the things that you love doing right now in the future, in the present moment, right?
Yeah, it's what lights you up, where
Okay.
your heart leads. They are the same as your values will come out of your passions. So when people look at me, hands down, they know that my health, and my fitness and being in nature, like it's non-negotiable. My value is my health and my well-being. Is non-negotiable. So that becomes my value. Is that helpful?
Mhm.
If not, just say so.
Mm.
Does that make sense, Adriana? Yeah, okay. If something's not clear, just unmute and ask. Chances are someone else is thinking the same thing. And what can happen is it can change, you know? So for example, when I lost this particular contract, one of my passions trumped up because it was like, whoa, I've got a big gap here to fill. So my financial security for now and future trumped up in my list, right? Because it was fine. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, well, so there's a change there. And this is one of my passions. So, but I had to move it up the list. If you've just had a health scare, maybe your passion was always to be healthy and fit, but you've just had a health scare. So, oh my, that's going to move up the list. So does everyone have anywhere between 3 and 5? They've got their 3 and 5? At least 3? I'll give you a little more time.
I want to share. I think that it seems I will have to write them again because I was more thinking like I don't know, I have been so busy of doing things that I never sat to think what I want and what I like and what I moves me.
Yeah. I love it. Adriana, thank you for your your openness and vulnerability in that. And that is the case with so many of us, is that we haven't really stepped back to think about what matters to me. And then we can also look and like, why are things going da 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 over here? Well, maybe I'm not been paying attention to it. And it's really important to me. So that's the universe going tap tap. Yeah. And redirecting. And we ignore the signs, right? We often ignore the signs. We ignore that we feel contracted. We ignore that, I have to get up and go and do this job I don't like. We ignore the signs, or we ignore the signs that this relationship isn't working and I really need to pay more attention to it and be more loving and caring. Yeah, go ahead, Liz.
Yeah, I think I wasn't paying attention. Like Linda, what's happened the last 8 months. I feel like I wasn't paying enough attention to a whole bunch of different stuff. And then you get kind of a slap in the face because you're not paying attention and you've noticed the signs and you choose to ignore them instead of seeing them and then moving forward on that. And you almost get stuck. And yeah, so you know what, your work's super interesting because it almost, for me, lightened me up and created a refocus. Anyway, there you go.
No, they're brilliant. These are great shares. These are awesome shares. So this is the piece, right? If we're not thinking about it, if we're not aware of it. So the next question, this is beautiful, Adrienne and Liz, what you've just shared. So thank you for that. The next question is, look at those top ones that you've got so far, and scale on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being I'm living it 100%, to 1, wow, that's a passion, but I'm not paying any attention to it. I'm not living it at all. How do you rate those top 5 or those top 3 that you got to? Because that's your work. So if you're not feeling in a beautiful state or happy or joyful, you're struggling, you're stuck, you're getting sick a lot, you're getting injured a lot. There's a lot of discourse in your body, your relationships aren't working. It's because somewhere in those top passions, we haven't been paying the attention that we need to. And when I got this, I realized, wow, I haven't been nurturing, connections with my kids is in my top 5. And I've been really nurturing 1 out of 3. I better giddy up on the phone and call my daughter and say, how are you? I haven't talked to you in a while. Because my relationship with her really matters, right? Otherwise, days, weeks, months go on and it's like, whoa. Someone says, how's your daughter? I'm like, I don't actually know. Wow, that's not in my passion. Anyone else getting that little knock on the door right now?
Yeah.
Audrey. I love you, Audrey. Big hug to you. Yeah. So this is the opportunity. Right? This is the opportunity to just let that go.
I think it's really hard not to be selfish. And I mean, just I know, Liz, I can see that you're not a selfish person at all. And I was going to ask you, can you practice your faith in Mother Nature? Can you practice it with your friends? When I was sick, and you were just mentioning, when your health is like, you have to focus on your health. Well, no, actually, I focused on the most important things in my life, which happened to me with my children. And my relationship with my children, most important thing. Yeah. And I still say that. Mm-hmm. And when I went for my divorce and I was driving back with I think I was pregnant with my son at the time, and I said, I'm here to be with my children. This is my life. Mm-hmm. And I've stuck to that. Mm-hmm. And that's now 20 20 something years ago, 29, 20,
Mhm.
28 years ago. So, I mean, yes, we do change, and it's difficult now for me because my daughter now is married and has a husband and is moving into a new house. And can I help you? What can I do? Is there anything I can do? And yeah, no, she doesn't really want my help at the moment. So it's okay. I'll
It
be there for
changes.
her.
And it frees you up to look at another passion at the same time, right? It's not a set in stone. This is always moving, like the flow of the water. Yeah, thank you for that. So it's always moving. Our time is, I'm just gonna see, is everyone okay for just another 5 minutes?
Mhm.
Beautiful. Yeah, so this is the work that we do. So today we have really touched on the first, like, what are our passions? What do I want? And I love Adrienne, you know, it's like, I haven't looked at this. So this is something that you can do and explore and think about it when you're going for your walks and you're doing your meditation and you're setting your intentions. Like, what really lights me up? What makes me feel good? Not somebody else, not your family, not societal norms. This is where we're really looking at all possibility. What is fully possible? Like, take the barriers down, step outside of the box and what's possible. This is where you get to really have fun and explore. And then the steps that we start to look at, just want to see here. I'm just going to touch on these aspects. So the formula that we then create, once we have an idea of, like, we know what our passions are, and then we create our top 3 intentions, like, in 1 year from now, where do you want to be? So when I created the intention of I work and play from wherever I chose, and then I started to really feel into what does that look like? What does that feel like? What am I doing? And the intention became that one sentence: I am present, positive tense. Another one was that I created for this year. One of them was that I am deeply connected and integrated in the community in which I'm living, because I moved into this resort town and was like, wow, it's actually not, you just don't meet people walking down the street. So this is one of the reasons I started playing pickleball, is like, how do you meet people? How do you get involved? I'm going to volunteer. So it's like knowing the what, that I'm deeply integrated and connected in the community in which I love living. And then every action that I make is that moving me towards that end. And then opportunity starts to unfold. So we set what's called an intention. And then we put attention to it. So action engages attention. And this is what I just referred to. Now, the attention is, what am I doing? If one of my intentions is that I have a healthy, strong, vital body, I have a choice to eat a muffin that I bought at a store, or I have a choice to make a fruit salad and have an egg and some avocado. I have a choice to order burger and fries, or I have a choice to order a beautiful salad with a side of salmon. Which one is moving me towards that intention? Because just like ice needs structure, we have water to make ice, we need water in an ice cube tray. Our intentions need attention, they need action. Then the third is what we call no tension. In other words, we don't want to squeeze it into existence. This is where the example of I set sail, but I might have to change my course now and again because the winds are changing, the tides are changing. But we stay focused on that passion. The passion is what pulls you. There are many times in the last year and, or I'll say 15 months, that I could have pulled the pin and gone back to this town And inside, I felt so contracted when I thought, because it wasn't following my passion. I had to shift who I was as a leader for my staff. I had to shift who I was being and get into a different action, because the thought of not living in the mountains where I'm in the dirt every day just felt horrible in my body. Not that the other is a bad choice, it just right now is not my passion. So this is the clarity. And when you have the clarity, you will no longer be stuck. When you have the clarity, that right decision, even if it feels like a hard decision, if you're in a place where right now you're having to make a difficult choice that's going to change something in your life, impact you or impact others, the more clear you are on what matters to you in your passion, the more the passion will pull you. And then you do due diligence, and then we surrender and we let go. It's when we're trying to squeeze things into existence and trying to force them, we're attached to the outcome. Creator, creating, creation. You want to focus on creator, creating, and the creation comes. And sometimes it's unexpected. So, big topic. And as you can tell, it does require some massaging, work in the dough. So I'm inviting you to book a session with me. It's what I call a 30-minute energy reset, where what we will do in this 30-minute call, it'll be, we can choose phone or Zoom, but typically I do these ones on phone, is we'll take a look at your top 5 passions. And maybe by the time we meet, we have tweaked them. And we'll start to look at what is a course of action that you can start taking so that you've got these 5 passions, they feel good, they feel right. And what's the next best step? How do we create the intention? How do you start to carve the pathway? And I'm just going to put the link into the chat so that you know now you have a place to go. So I'm going to put the link into the chat. And you can just go there. I've opened up some times later today, as well as tomorrow and over the weekend. And it's a complimentary 30 minutes with me where we'll take a look and answer your questions and support you in how you can create a life that you love living, that's in alignment with who you are, seated as the soulful self. And when you are living in alignment with who you are and seated as the soulful self, you're welcome, Jill. It truly is a beautiful life in a beautiful state. And it's not to ignore that the ride isn't like this, because it is. When you are stretching yourself and you are living a big life and you have big goals and aspirations, we're coming from a container that we're comfortable in and stepping into a bigger container. And I want to support you in the wobble, not a splat. And support you in getting as clear, crystal clear as you can. So I invite you, book a call. I'd love to chat with you all one-on-one. I've gone over our time. Any questions, any comments, just unmute yourself. I am here for you. Go ahead, Adriana.
It was just amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining me. Beautiful. It's so great to have you here and your beautiful smile.
This was amazing, Linda. And now I'm rethinking some of the things, and my eyes have opened up as well. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that was great. That helped me, you know, with quite a few things. And I noticed I missed out listing some things that were really important too. So this is great. Thank you.
Beautiful. Yeah, thank you, Liz. Awareness is the first step, right? If we're not aware, we're not awake, and there's nothing. So if you've got this like, whoa, And that was for me. That's why I love doing these workshops, because I'm in the work at the same time. I realized there's a couple of things I need to actually put my attention on that I haven't put in my attention on. Nothing wrong, nothing bad. There's no blame, shame. You cannot get this wrong. It's just awareness to go, actually, for me, this is for you. And Sally mentioned the word selfish. Selfish is actually a good thing. We have it in our society. It's a bad thing, because I promise you what's good for you is good for everybody else. Sharon.
Well, for me, I'm already doing the intention of life, and this has been a very good review for me. And I've had, I say some very, I think they're serious family problems. And Linda, I'll send you an email to tell you what's happening. And I'm so glad that I'm doing this intention of life. It is starting to work, as Linda said, very slowly. You have to work at it. But I think going through a couple of crises lately, I think already I feel like I'm a better person. I think I know where I'm going. And yesterday, I live near Linda in Ladner, near Tsawwassen, and there's a secret garden down in Boundary Bay. So I thought I'm reading another book where I should have at least 1 hour of solitude each day. And I live alone, but still I'm very busy. So I went down to the secret garden, the door was open, I walked in, nobody ever came in. I was the only person there. And then finally I sat down on a little bench and I did a special meditation. Wow, I can't even explain how I felt. And I thought about it as I went to bed last night. It was just so beautiful. So I thought, okay, if I can make my life more like this, boy, I'm going to keep working at it.
Oh, I love that, Sharon.
Yeah, so I hope that sort of helps everybody. This has been a very good review.
Yeah, thank you for that, Sharon. And that is what transformation is that you can walk into the same environment, but be different. Walk into the same environment and react different. That's transformation. And it's changing who we are. And you did all of that. You changed your state.
Yep, I did.
Awareness and choice. It was all you. No one out here did it. You chose it all and you did it. That's the power. We are more powerful than we ever knew. Yeah. Thank you, Sharon. Yeah. So Sharon's part of our 12-month intentional life program, the Conscious Awakening program. And the reason the program is that duration, because we are living life as we go through it. And this is the work, is how do we manage family situations differently from a new perspective. Yeah, beautiful. Anyone else? Thoughts? Wonderful. Well, please do book a call with me. I would love to spend 30 minutes helping you get clear on your passions and answering your questions. I thank you all so much for spending this time today. It was a lot of fun. Thank you for your sharing. Thank you for being here and being present, and for your curiosity and to looking at what's possible in life. Together we can elevate humanity and make this world just a beautiful place. The world needs each and every one of you to show up. Thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful rest of the day.
Thank you, Linda. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Linda.
You're welcome. Good to see you, Dallas.